The Y Factor is proudly brought to you by Flames Steakhouse Pizza and Ribs in Campsie, the best steak you'll ever have.
Assalamu alaikum, peace be upon you all.
His eyes slowly rising, sunrise warms the horizon, sand dunes form in the distance, he's up and out in an instant, the crowd they all were waiting, watching and anticipating, a man appears from afar, could it be the one sent by Allah? He shouts, here comes the prophet, his face is a light that drives out the darkness, words are alive, his message is living, joy everywhere, our voices are singing.
Little girl,
The 7th, Thursday the 7th of June, and we're here for another exciting Y Factor episode. Joining me in the studio today is guest host. Actually, I think you've become a fixture. Are you a fixture yet?
You can't get rid of me now, Tesnim.
Oh, well, the ratings went through the roof, Zainab, with that voice, so we're keeping you. So joining me in the studio is the fixture Zainab, and you've got Tasnim here on the mic. Now, this week, we have two amazing people we speak to. We speak to Sister Mahboba Rawi from Mahboba's Promise, who shares with us her very emotional story behind Mahboba's Promise, the organisation, and how she came to be the mother of thousands of orphans and how she actually is working to actively change their lives. Very, very heart-wrenching story. Make sure you tune in. After that, we speak to Sister Sabrine Elkhodr from the Contextualising Australian Muslim Youth Summit. Not youth, Contextualising Australian Muslims Summit. And she'll be letting us know about why it's so important to contextualise Australian Muslims. So with that, we might get started on the news for this week. So Zainab, what's happening around the world?
Well, terrible news again from Syria. It seems like the massacres continue, with 100 people massacred in a village in central Syria on Wednesday. So the village of Al-Kubair in the Hama province featured a massacre of 100 people, including about 20 women and 20 children.
This is in addition to the Hula massacre. Subhanallah.
Yes.
Wow. I think the other sources reported that the massacre had taken place in the same area, including opposition activists and Syrian Observatory for Human Rights tentatively put the number of dead at 87. So subhanallah, I don't know where this is getting. I mean, you've got, a lot of international coverage on these, pro-regime Shabiha militia, as they're known. And then you've got a lot of, dissident voices saying, oh no, it's all, a conspiracy and the FSA and things like that. I just think it's reached a point where people don't even care who's taking the blame. But these massacres, these murders need to be stopped.
But I think it's reached a point where people who were denying that massacres are actually taking place by the government are finding it a lot harder now to justify their claims, because all this evidence has come out and it's really irrefutable.
I mean, some have even said that Assad, the way he's going, is actually risking a genocide. The Annan plan was supposed to begin with a ceasefire from April the 12th, but as violence has raged daily despite the deployment of nearly 300 UN observers, and doubts have actually emerged about, its effectiveness. And
now the US is thinking of imposing more economic sanctions, but you just wonder, is that really going to assist the Syrians who are on the ground at the moment being massacred?
I mean, a lot of, France actually dismissed these moves as masquerades and things like that, and Italy warned that Assad's policies risk creating genocide unless there is a swift action to stop them. I think after, the intervention in Libya, and, rightly or wrongly so, depending on what side of the spectrum your opinion lies, a lot of people are actually really weary about international intervention. But I think unanimously no one's disagreeing that something needs to be done about this situation, because the massacres, the death tolls are just exponentially rising.
It feels like it's reached breaking point, but we'll just have to wait and see what happens.
Well, in another area of the world that's actually, killings have become the norm. It's Myanmar, which is Burma, which actually has a sizable Muslim minority that we don't usually know about. Now, Buddhists have actually, in Western Myanmar, have actually attacked a bus and killed 9 Muslims, police said on Monday, the deadliest communal violence in the region since a reformist government took power a year ago. The bus was actually besieged near a city, I can't pronounce the name, on Sunday evening by a group who blamed some of its passengers of the murder of a Buddhist woman a week ago. One of those killed travelling in a separate car. And Myanmar actually has the largest concentration of Muslims, but their presence is often resented by the Buddhist majority.
I think there's actually some refugees from Myanmar in Villawood Detention Centre, right?
Yeah.
The Rohingya
Rohingyans,
Muslims.
Yeah.
And they note that they're actually really strongly resented by the Buddhist majority because of long-standing ethnic and religious tensions in the country.
Definitely. And I think often, when you think, Buddhists, you think of the, doctrines of not to hurt and not to harm and things like that. But this is actually like armed Buddhist militias. And in a joint statement, 8 overseas-based Rohingya rights groups condemned the attack on Muslim pilgrims, which they said had come after months of anti-Rohingya propaganda stirred up by extremists and xenophobes. So I think it's actually... it's really sad, and as you said, they are actually fleeing. There's a sizable minority in Malaysia, in Indonesia, and they're even making it into our shores just to run away from the ethnic cleansing that they're facing there.
Yeah, it's actually a really big human rights issue, and one which doesn't probably receive enough coverage, something that we should be aware of.
And I think also, even just some discussions I've had with the Rohingyans in Villawood, they're just like, you Muslims are forgetting us, It's always, the emphasis is always on the Middle East, you've forgotten, Well, speaking of that region, in China, a dissident has actually been imprisoned and found hanging in a hospital.
And so he's been in prison since, 1989? The Tiananmen Square protests.
Yeah, the pro-democracy ones. Officials suggest that Li had committed suicide, but family members question this account. His body found on Wednesday in the southeast of the country.
Well, as we know, the Chinese government is extremely repressive, and so there's been a series of crackdowns against any people who speak out against the government.
I mean, it's just ridiculous because it says Al Jazeera's Steve Chow reported from Hong Kong saying that relatives doubted that Li would be able to actually physically hang himself because they pointed out the fact that he virtually was blind, deaf and unable to walk probably from years of mistreatment in prison. They also pointed out that a leading dissident, he was monitored by sometimes up to 10 officers 24 hours a day, and they wonder how he may have managed to slip a bandage around his neck and tie it to a window without them noticing. He was actually 62 at the time of his death.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, he'd been in prison since, 1989? That's over 20 years. So obviously his condition would be very, very weak.
And he was sentenced for counter-revolutionary propaganda and incitement. And he spent much of his 11-year term in hard labour. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting to reflect on considering China's such a rising power in the world.
I mean, but there's a fine line, we're proud of China, its achievements, its economic boom. But when it comes to, the human rights, I was watching this, I was reading this, how Men in Black number 3 came out? They actually had that in China when it went to air, there were scenes that were edited that actually showed, the Chinese in bad light, especially that kind of had allusions to censorship and things like that. So they even edited Men in Black. I think the only country that I know that edits is Iran because of, they edit kissing scenes and stuff out of movies. But that's a different story. In Australian news...
I don't know if anyone's been following this story. It was broken by Four Corners the other night. Captain Emad is a man who's alleged to have run a people smuggling operation out of Canberra, and apparently he's left the country on Tuesday night. So he hadn't been detained even after the story went to air when he left Melbourne, but it seems that he's actually managed to escape the country and elude prosecution for his people smuggling activities.
The AFP commissioner said that police had an idea of where Captain Mead had flown to, but would not reveal the location. And it's also unlikely that Captain Emad would be arrested overseas. It's actually interesting because, as you said, it was a Tony Negus production with Four Corners, and I mean, it's actually interesting because they said that there remains insufficient evidence to charge any of the syndicate members at this time. But I think, especially, you know, with the politics of, you know, people smugglers, and I mean, you know, even when when Chris Bowen was trying to put through the Malaysia solution, a major part of it was we want to send this strong message to the people smugglers that they're not welcome. So to kind of shift the light from, it's not that we're not accepting people, you know, who are in vulnerable positions. We want to save them from themselves and save them from these, you know, syndicates of crime and things like that.
This is going to have bad repercussions for genuine asylum seekers because Captain Emad came into the country seeking refuge. So they're saying that actually quite a few people smugglers managed to make into the country and they pose as refugees when they're actually smugglers. And so it's going to make it even harder than it already is for the genuine refugees to be actually allowed into the country.
And that has political ramifications in terms of pressure on Dayak and things like that to toughen up their measures. I mean, Labor has been ridiculed by the opposition following the Four Corners report, with opposition leader Tony Abbott calling the government utterly incompetent at border protection. He said, if the TV station can find the people smugglers, why can't the government stop them?
Well, I mean, that's Tony Abbott's catchphrase, isn't it? Stop the boats. Very intelligent there.
Well, in more tragedy around the world, there's been a lot of unrest in Israel and the West Bank as Netanyahu it's just a long day, announces plans for 300 settler homes after the actual bill was rejected to legalise these existing homes.
And this is in the Israeli parliament, the Knesset. They actually rejected the bill to legalise these homes, but Netanyahu seems to just have gone ahead and authorised the building of 300 new homes.
I mean, and the votes were pretty significant. It was 69 to 22. And it could have prompted an international backlash against the settler movement.
I mean, the US Department once again, you know, comes out in words saying that they do not approve of the new settlements and that it undermines peace efforts and contradicts Israeli commitments and obligations. But I think that we will see a precedent. They will follow precedent, which is not putting their money where their mouth is.
I mean, you know, for example, when Hamas were elected in Gaza, and, you know, the US condemned them, they didn't just verbally condemn. It was sanctions. And until you decide to change your mind, we're not changing. But with this, they're condemning it. And the international, community has condemned it.
And I mean, what kind of peace process can really come about now? What land can be given to the Palestinians when so much of it has been usurped and continues to be usurped by this settlement movement?
I mean, it's funny that even Israel even goes as far as differentiating between legal and illegal settlements. I mean, if you want to argue politically and take it from a historical perspective, the whole occupation was illegal. So how can you have legal and illegal settlements based on something that was illegal in the first place?
Yeah, it's all depressing news in today.
Well, usually when you're depressed, what cheers you up, Zainab? Food. So let's talk about food. What do you think of Amina's performance on MasterChef?
Oh, she was the star. They said that she had real leadership potential because she was leading her team and she actually led them to victory in the team challenge. And yeah, she's a cool chick.
I think just watching the various episodes and stuff, it's just like I really like her sincerity, her humility. It just comes through. And I know a lot of people have been talking about how, like, for example, just this positive dawah that comes out of that. You know, she's not there, saying, Sharia for Australia or whatever, but just the fact that she's just in a scarf, competent at what she's doing, just being a nice human, interacting with others in a positive way. It's I don't know, a lot of positive, because when was the last time a Muslim was on a reality TV show in a positive way? I mean, there's the
Amazing Race.
Yeah. I mean, other than that, we're only featured in the current affairs sections. So it's pretty good that we're getting...
yeah, maybe we should give up on orchestrated dawah efforts and all just go on, like, reality TV shows.
I think we need to draw the line. I mean, what are you going to do if people start joining, like, Big Brother or something? All right. Well, without further ado, we'll just leave that there, inshallah. So that was the news for this week. As I said, stay tuned. Next up, we will be speaking to Sister Mahboba from Mahboba's Promise. After that, we'll be speaking to Sister Sabrine, and inshallah, we'll finish up the episode with some events. I mean, it's like events galore.
Yeah,
just
bad for uni students.
Seriously, just hang on a couple of weeks. You're listening to The Y Factor on 87.6 FM.
Little girl all alone, barely covered head to toe, barely just 12 years old. Why is she all alone? Why is the world just so cold? Why don't we play our part? What is hard in our hearts? What is hard in our hearts? Underneath the waterfall, $1 million shopping mall.
The Y Factor.
Welcome back from the break, guys. Joining me in the studio today is Sister Mahboba Rawi. Sister Mahboba was born in Afghanistan in 1964. She started the International Women and Children's Support Services in 1998. She formed Mahboba's Promise in 2001. She was nominated as Australian of the Year in 2004. She published her biography, Mahboba's Promise, in 2005. She was the Australian Muslim Role Model of the Year by Mission of Hope in 2006. She was exhibited as one of the 30 for powerful women in the photo exhibition of the United Nations in 2006. She won the Ambassador for Peace by the Interreligious and International Federation World Press. She was awarded the Order of Australia Medal in 2010. She was featured in The Garden at the End of the World, which won the Human Rights Award in 2010. She was included in the annual list of 100 of Sydney's most influential people in the Sydney Morning Herald. She's spoken at various functions, schools and councils over the years, and here at the Y Factor we're delighted to have her on the show. Welcome to the show, sister.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum to all your audience.
Wa alaikum assalam. Sister Mahboba, just the name of your organisation, Mahboba's Promise, sounds, it's just very heartwarming and promising, it's so cliched, but it is. What's Mahboba's Promise about?
Mahboba's Promise is my promise to dedicate my life for the sake of well-being of widows and orphans in Afghanistan, especially the orphan children. As you all know, there's 1.5 million orphans in Afghanistan, and a majority of them have nobody like extended family. So that's my promise, to give my life to the orphans in Afghanistan, and even broader, to around the world if I can.
Sister Mahboba, you yourself have not had a very easy life, if you can say it, in that way. At the age of 15, you were forced to flee the Soviet expansion in Afghanistan. You tragically actually lost one of your sons drowning in 1992. You've actually had, lots of ups and downs. What was the catalyst? What was the move behind you, deciding to actually dedicate your whole life to this worthy cause? What was the reason behind it?
When I lost my son in 1992, there was 7 members of friend and family relative. They all died together. And when I was standing beside my son's coffin, I see the power of God. I wasn't very religious. Alhamdulillah, I born Muslim, and I was practiced Muslim, but I wasn't very, very connected with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala since that. And when I saw the power of God, I become connected with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala more than ever. So I become a kind of godly person. I wake up every night for tahajjud, because I saw there is nothing I can do to make my son alive again. So I feel hopeless. I feel like, and I kind of losing my son, it was ni'mat from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to me, even though it was very worst day of my life. It was something good happened to me. It's like a step in my head to say, wake up.
A blessing in disguise.
Yeah, like wake up, and this is not what I brought you in this world. And also when I feel the pain of losing a child, I know how difficult it is for women in Afghanistan. They probably lose 4 or 5 members of their families, especially their children. And I know 1,000 children dying from starvation. It's not a story, it's the fact, the way of life they have, the children dying every day. And I saw that when I was in refugee camp in Pakistan. So then I decide, as I become closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I decide to dedicate my life for the orphan children in my country. And that faith, that strong tawakkul toward Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is make me stand up and make me make this huge promise, which I keep it for 15 years now.
SubhanAllah, sister, I think it's just so amazing that out of despair and agony, hope was born. So I think this is a reflection of your project as it is, from the despair, from the tragedy, from the atrocities that have been committed in Afghanistan, from what people suffer in Afghanistan. You're bringing hope out of despair, especially to these orphan children. Yeah, well, there is too much suffering there. I mean, sometimes people say there's too much happening around the world right now. It's what's happening in Syria and all the Middle East. It's very sad. But people sometimes say it's too much to fix. But I saw that within my attention. If you walk with the attention of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you put your tawakkul toward God, and you be honest on your work, you will change the life of so many children. And I did. I became a mother of 1,000 children in my country. I built orphanages and children, and all of these orphan children call me mother. So it is doable, and if people have a bit of passion, dedication, they can do that. Sister, I think it's really amazing, just taking back to your previous note, the fact that as young people especially, we look around and we see the tragedies all over the world, and we just sometimes lose hope, and you just think, what can I do? What can one person do in the face of tragedy, in the face of, the conditions of, everything in the world? And I think it's easy to lose hope sometimes, but the power of one person, as you have shown through your life, can be amazing. Now, mashallah, you've built this, and you've called it the House of Hope in Kabul, which is a vibrant community centre and home for children where widows and orphans can take classes, they can relax, they can play together. You've provided remedial education, you've provided vocational training for over 300 widows in the area, from tailoring to beautician courses. You've actually you've done a lot of projects, and seriously, it's a whole page.
I got about 19 projects altogether in Afghanistan, and honestly, sister, I've done it one by one. When I built the biggest orphanage, people in the West call it Hope House. In Afghanistan, people, it's under Prophet, peace be upon him, name. Rasulullah is the name of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So when I want to build this orphanage, I didn't have $1. And then I usually wake up for tahajjud, and I talk with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and I give the plan, and I want this much money. I just talk like you talk with your best friend, and then that money will come. That building has been built through 5 years. I collect $1 by $1 by $1, and I make sure every dollar goes back to every brick of this building. And I build a huge, it's three-story building, and it's got a green tile. I brought the tile from Iran. So I make a beautiful house. It's like some people say you make paradise for the orphan in this earth, and some people do criticize me for making a beautiful house for the orphan. They said you can make muddy kind of houses and bring the orphan. I said, well, I have to build something that I'm worthy of. And what kind of house you want to build for your own son? But alhamdulillah, soon as you have good attention and you want to do that, I know I am walking, but angel and every Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is doing it for me. I never say I've done so much, because last year I was in Afghanistan. I was sitting on the corner of Hope House, and bunch of Aussie people was with me, and And in the morning, children come and say, Salam alaikum, mother, Salam alaikum, mother. And 120 times, Walaikum assalam, Walaikum assalam. And then the next day, I get very, very tired. And then when I look, the children running around on the front yard of the orphanage, and they're so happy. They have a uniform to go. They got blue uniform with the ties, and there's a car taking them. They look like a prime minister children. And then everyone calling me mother. I said, my God, what I've done to myself. Look at that. I mean, this is not possible for one human being to do unless Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not help me. I believe my work is a holy work. I believe I put the seed of this organization in the name of God. And I am really, really happy that I established something can be example for Afghanistan. So I don't have ethnic clashes like, Pashtun, Tajik, Hazara. They all sitting, all of my orphans from every background, and they all sit together, eat together, call each other brother and sister. And it's beautiful what can be, done by one person.
And I think, Sister Mahboba, the other important thing that I wanted to speak to you about also is, as you said, you started off without $1. But obviously to get to, leading 19 projects, you must have had the help of, the community of very, very supportive people around you. Now, a lot of the times people think, I want to change the world. I can't do it on my own, so they give up hope. What's your message to people that want to make a difference, but they're not actually utilising the strengths of people around them? They're not utilising the beauty of the community who always wants to donate, who wants to help, who wants to be supportive of each other.
I would say that to the Muslim community, because all my listeners are Muslim, I would say that you are not the one to doing anything. If Allah wants you and choose you for the charity, all you need to just put your first step. And you go one step toward Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is coming 10 steps towards you. So how powerful is this? God got Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have a bundle of ni'mat for everybody. He will see your attention. And I think it's obligation for us, as a Muslim community, to look after orphan around our Muslim community. And it doesn't matter, it has to be Afghanistan or Iraq or, Gaza children or Syria, whatever country. But please, even if you want to buy one pencil for one child to write, you've done your bit. And when you go for the day after, you be proud that I have done that. Because it's time for us to share. It's time for us to share our human resources. If we don't have money, we can make one telephone call and find one sponsor for one child. And in Afghanistan, I usually pick up my children, the orphan children from the streets. So I travel to Afghanistan once a year. So you in Afghanistan, you go and you walk 10 steps and you see about 20 orphans sitting on the footpath, selling water. And they only age of 4, they say, auntie water, auntie water, auntie water, all the time. And he looks so dirty. And they sell plastic bag. And when I sit next to them and I say, what's your name? Where's your father? They say, my father died, my uncle died, my grandpa died, the bomb blew up. That's the reality of life. If a bomb blew up and a child lived alone, for God's sake, that's become every Muslim obligation to come and put their hand together. I just amazed by seeing how much money we're spending on unnecessary, how much clothes we have, how much food we're throwing on the rubbish. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make a diet on us to cut on all of these and think about an orphan child somewhere with empty stomach. I went to one area in Afghanistan and I saw something which has stayed with me forever. There was brother and sister together. Every morning they wake up in the morning and they go to the rubbish area and they pick up potato peel and onion and I saw one little boy. He pick up the cherry. So probably is a 2 piece of cherry. Somebody threw it and he pick up the cherry and he bring it through his mouth and then he look at the eyes of her sister. Look at her. And then he just take it back, the cherry from her mouth, and give to the sister. And I burst to cry, and I went and I gave him in the middle of the rubbish. He looked so dirty and smell everywhere. and then I said, what a nice brother you are. Tell me about this charity. Why you give it to your sister? Because he said, we both haven't eaten since for a few days, and there's not much fruit on the rubbish anyway for us to eat. So these kind of stories is reality. It's not a story, it's not a film. It's the reality of life and our Muslim brother and sister struggling in so many countries, especially Afghanistan.
Okay, sister, I think a lot of people I find it hard to comprehend the actual living conditions. Now, you, as the founder of various institutions and organizations and things like that, would know, for example, how much it would cost for an orphan, okay? So in Australia, we know, for example, you can't even buy a coffee for less than $5. You can't have a decent meal for less than $10. For the orphans in Afghanistan, how much money are you looking at to actually, for example, maintain an orphan for a day or a month or something like that?
If I have $35 a month for a sponsor, I pick up a child from a street, like these two brother and sister, and I send them to school. The education is the things that I'm focusing. Each child I pick up from the street, I say, you go to school. You don't have to come to the rubbish bin. You don't have to sell plastic bag. So $35 a month, it's going to take one child away, and that money 100% goes to the hand of this child, and you get the photograph and the stories of the child, and then process progress report as well.
And $35 a month is enough for a child's education, fees, clothes?
It's certainly, because it goes a long way. It goes a long way with the Afghani rupees. I mean, that will pick them up and they go to school and they have a bit of food to eat. And once they become under the sponsorship program, like the month of Ramadan, people pay fitrya, sadaqah, zakat, kurbani. I send to the exactly same similar children. So they kind of lucky if I pick them up, from the streets. So after that, they become under my care. I am the one to go and walk and worry about them. They don't have to worry. They have to go and study.
So I can, I've got some of the orphan sponsorship information sheets in front of me, and I think, subhanAllah, just reading through those stories, it's heartbreaking. I've got one of an 8-year-old called Mujibullah. His mother died 7 months ago. The father is disabled. Both his legs are deformed and he can hardly walk. The father was selling things like plastic bags in the street, and he had no choice but to take Mujibullah on the street with him while he was trying to earn a living, and he's only 8 years old. One day, Mahboba's promise found Mujibullah playing in a garbage dump and eating things from the garbage. The father said no one will help him because with a father alive here, he's not an orphan. The father wanted someone to look after his son. He was going to work to make some money so he could get married again. And come back for him. So I think, subhanAllah, like, it's these stories, of agony and distress, and you're out there to actually give these children hope, to give them a promise of a better day in a country that, subhanAllah, due to circumstances, just from the Soviet, invasion, after that, the wars and things like that, a beautiful, beautiful country that's just been war-torn over and over and over again. Now, just inshallah, as a concluding message of hope to the listeners out there, sometimes, listening to you now, they might feel a bit, helpless, or, feel like there's just too many problems to fix. What would your message be to these people?
I would say come and join. They don't have to do too much. I know they're all going to university and their life is very, very busy. Just maybe 1 hour every week or a few hours every month, if they have, come and join the group. And we teach them to do a tiny bit of things, whatever, not more than their ability. Even if you find one sponsor for one child, please do it, because that's what the children need, and they will surprise how easy that this will come once they join and do things.
And in your experience, is it always the small steps that actually, you start off with the baby steps, then you start running? So with helping the cause,
definitely.
mashallah, you started with, it was just a promise that you made after the tragic incident where you lost your son, and now we are in 2012, mashallah, you've got 19 centers.
I started
like
with 35 often, now I got 1,000 thousands of orphans.
Subhanallah.
And you know, some of my school there's 6,000 children in some of my school. So it's big, it's huge, it's bigger than my life. But I really want young generation to come and join me, because I've done this for 15 years. I'm no longer young. I need idea for them. You know, sometimes Facebook, YouTube, technology, they know technology. I'm not very technology person. So they can help me from their home, their own space, their own university, a tiny bit of help. But please come and join me. Go to my website and contact me. I need more people to come.
Inshallah, for our audience who is interested in looking into this further, Mahboba's Promise is, you can find the organisation on the website. It's www.mahboba, MAHBOBAS, promise, PROMISE.org. So mahbobaspromise.org. You can also email Mahboba, MAHBOBA, at mahbobaspromise.org. You can also ring 02 9887 1665. That was 9887 1665. And the mobile number is 0402 145 017, 0402 145 017. Now, Sister Mahboba, I know, inshallah, on the 23rd of this month, so Saturday the 23rd of June, at 6:30 p.m, you'll be having a ladies' fun fair at the Emporium Function Centre in Bankstown. What's this event about?
I'm building, I started to build one orphanage last year, and I'm going to finish this building. And this building is for the children who lost their house in earthquake in Afghanistan, and nobody built a house for them, and now they squashed 3-bedroom, 45 orphan children
in 3 bedrooms.
3-bedroom, and I want to finish it off and bring these children to give them proper house. So it's a building this orphanage for the orphans children in area called Takhar. And I need a bunch of volunteer to come and give us a hand on the night. And also to sell 200 tickets for me, it's very, very difficult. If people can sell 1 or 2 tickets for me, please call us. And
well, inshallah, the event itself sounds really exciting and promising. It's a night filled with humour, games, fine food and excitement. It is the sisters only event, so sorry brothers, just encourage the females in your life to attend. Now, also, all donations to Mahboba's Promise are actually tax deductible, and 100% of the profit raised will go towards the establishment of the Takhar Home Education Centre.
Yes.
So for those who are worried about where the proceeds will be going, inshallah, 100% of the profit will actually be going to this education centre. If you are interested, again, you can visit mahbobaspromise.org. You can ring the telephone number on 9887 1665. Inshallah, no children under the age of 12, but other than that, all ladies are welcome. That's Saturday the 23rd of June at 6:30 p.m. at the Emporium Function Centre. Tickets are $55 per person, or $500 for a table of 10. So, Sister Mahboba, I think thank you so much for joining us on the show. You had a lot to share with us. Those who want to take it further, as I said, other than the website, Sister Mahboba also has a book called Mahboba's Promise, Mahboba Rawi with Vanessa Mikan-Garamzio. Now, how one woman made a difference. It's actually a biography of the author. And where can we buy a copy of the book
through
from?
my website you can order.
Okay, inshallah. So that's Mahboba's Promise. So if you want to know the story behind this amazing woman that's actually joined us on the show today. So Sister Mahboba, any final words you'd like to tell our audience?
All I want to say that please help me with selling this ticket, and please join my organization and do what you can.
Inshallah. So with that message of hope, inshallah, we'll conclude. That was Sister Mahboba Rawi from Mahboba's Promise joining us in the studio today. Thank you so much, Sister.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
The Y Factor.
I'm walking with my head lowered in shame for my place. I'm walking with my head lowered for my race. Yes, it's easy to blame everything on the West, when in fact all focus should be on ourselves. I'm walking with my head lowered in shame for my place. I'm walking with my head lowered for my race. Yes, it's easy to blame everything on the West, when in fact all focus should be on ourselves. We were told what to buy and we bought.
so we were seen in the most exclusive shops. Yes, we felt so very satisfied. We felt that money gave us infinite power. We forgot to teach our children about history and honor. We didn't have any time to lose when we were so busy feeling so satisfied. I'm walking with
The Y Factor.
Welcome back from the break, guys. Joining me in the studio today is Sister Sabrine Elkhodr, who is one of the team members of the Contextualising Australian Muslim Summit. Welcome to the show, sister.
Hello, Tisney.
Hey. So, Sabrine, what's this Contextualising Australian Muslim Summit about? A summit for Muslims by Muslims?
The Contextualising Australian Muslim Summit is a move to provide a platform for the Muslim community just to identify problems and paving the way to find their solutions. So one of the issues that we've identified is the fact that we don't really have a vision for our community. We're so bogged down by the small problems that we forget about the big picture. So CAMS is a move towards bridging the gap between our past and where we want to go as a community.
I think this is really interesting because going from the migration experience of Muslims today, as you've mentioned, we've actually been bogged down by the much needed day-to-day, building of organisations, buildings of mosques, buildings of everything else. We haven't actually had the time to just take a step back and think, okay, what does the future hold to us? What do we want to make of the future? Is this what the summit is about?
Yeah, very much so. So one of the key outtakes that we want from the summit is for delegates to have a sense that, okay, we've actually made time to sit and actually discuss the issues that are facing us today that will affect us in the future, that if we don't solve today, will have a negative impact as we move forward. So one of the things that we really want to take out from the conference is a sense that we've at least made a move towards developing a vision that we can work towards over the next 10, 20 years or so.
And some of the areas that you've actually identified in the summit have been media, politics, capacity building, community relations, entrepreneurship, and celebrating our achievements as Australian Muslims. Why are these specific areas?
So the issues that we've identified for our inaugural summit are ones that are crucial for the development of our community. So we're looking at topics that will allow us to move forward, and issues such as media, business, politics, capacity building. These are all issues that more often than not are either forgotten, misunderstood, or their importance downplayed. So what we're trying to do is bring these issues to the fore and provide our community with the opportunity to engage with some exceptional Muslim academics and professors and speakers, basically, who are quite knowledgeable in these areas and be able to take from their experience and also provide the community themselves with an opportunity to discuss these issues between themselves at this conference.
Now, Sabrine, I can see, for example, speaking of speakers, that you not only have national speakers, you've got international speakers such as the former CEO of Zaytuna Institute, and you've also got various lecturers from within Australia. Now, with the international speaker versus a national speaker, are you trying to, for example, I can see that sometimes, or often it's actually stated that the experience of Western Muslims, it's not only confined to Australia. You'd be surprised that every time you have a chat to someone in the UK or America about their experience as a Muslim community, you think, hey, are we working for the same, So subhanAllah, the experiences are very similar. So you're trying to draw on their experience, which has been extensive and for a prolonged period, to benefit us here in Australia?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Brother After Malik, who is, as you mentioned, was the former CEO of the Zaytuna Institute, and he's our keynote speaker, is from Britain. And as you'd be aware, we'd be facing very similar issues living in the West. Of course, there will naturally be a lot of differences, but we can draw upon that experience to gain a greater understanding of how other Western communities were able to cope with the problems that they faced and how we can learn from that experience and apply it to our own situation.
Sabrine, I can actually see that you guys have named it the Contextualising Australian Muslim Summit. Why contextualising? Why is context important?
Context is important because it requires an understanding of your reality. In order to be able to solve the problems that you're facing, you need to first and foremost understand the situation that you're living in And then from there, you need to be able to identify the key points that you need to address in order to move forward as a community within your context. New problems require new solutions. And so the reason that we're focusing on context is because it's an issue that we don't really think about. It's not something that we talk about from day to day, the fact that our context is very important to the way that we work within a society and the way that we practice and just move forward.
I think it's not so much lack of appreciation that there is a contextual dilemma, if you want to call it that, because a lot of the times, for example, the issues that we're facing as Australian Muslims, if you rang up the mashayikh back home, they'd have a hard time even comprehending what we're talking about as Australian Muslims. I think the issue comes down to how do we actually tackle these issues. So when we do see issues, for example, the emerging issue of, integration versus assimilation versus identity, issues of simple things such as banking and things like that that you think would be pretty clear cut. They're not actually clear cut questions. So I think with the context, I think a lot of people are starting to appreciate that there are issues, contextual issues and problems that need to be dealt with, but the problem is what's the response to these problems. Who's actually addressing these key issues for young Muslim people. Now, Sabrine, as a young person yourself, you've worked in various capacities with lots of different youth organisations as well as established community organisations. As a young activist yourself, have you felt that as an working in the Australian context, often you were presented with unique challenges that, for example, you thought, wow, I kind of know the theory, I know Islamically this is how it's supposed to be, but I'm faced with this unique challenge. It's like, what's the answer to?
That there's so many situations like that it's almost difficult to pick one. That's exactly right. And as you were mentioning about context and the community realising there is actually a problem, we are at a point, I think, in our community's development where we have identified that we do need to start contextualising problems. And as you said, the issues that face communities overseas are very different to the issues that face us here. So the summit is actually coming as a response to that need and almost that implicit desire by people within the community to be able to have that discussion. So issues like that, I think, are things that we need to discuss a bit more. We don't really discuss them in light of the situation that we find ourselves in.
So what do you hope to actually get out of this summit, inshallah? So you've identified the issues, you're going to hold this summit, get these, respected speakers to speak. What do you wish to get out of it?
We want to begin a conversation. Now, we recognise that a one-day summit isn't going to fix our problems. But what we're hoping to get out of the summit is for the summit to be that first step of the journey towards the future that we want to get to. And what we need to realise is that if we are going to step up to the plate and take ownership of our own problems and the future development of our own community, someone else will. And if they do, and we're not happy with the result of that, we'll start complaining. Have the right to complain.
Yeah. Okay, Sabrine, that sounds really interesting. So with the speakers, who have you got planned for the conference, inshallah?
Okay, so some of the speakers that we've got, as you mentioned, Aftab Malik, who's from Britain. We've got Nasia Baffin, who'll be speaking about engaging with the media. We've got Brother Shaban Umran, who will be speaking about business. Jamila Hussain, who'll be touching on issues on integration and working within society. Hisham Sreka, who is with Auburn Council. Peter Gould will be talking about creativity within the Muslim community, adding a nice touch to the summit. And Ansari, who is a researcher at Newcastle University.
I can see that it's the background of each speaker is different. Are you trying to tap into the key areas of concern that you see as important for Muslims? So not just the traditional, like academic and finance fields that have always been focused on, but for example with Peter Gould, like the artistic creative side, the journalist side, which I think is really important because, we often complain about the media, we're like victimized by the media, but what have we actually done to engage? So are you hoping that each speaker would bring a wealth of expertise from their various area and engage the participants in that various field?
Yep, that's exactly right. So as I said, we're not trying to fix those problems at the summit, but what we want to do is just provide the platform to touch on many different areas in a very small way so that we can begin that conversation and start talking about it in the future. And we hope to be running workshops post-conference to be able to go into depth and really nut out the solutions to these problems. So, yeah, we're definitely going for variety, and that's quite deliberate.
Look, it sounds really interesting, and I personally am looking forward to it. So our listeners, inshallah, that will be Saturday, the 30th of June. So Saturday, the 30th of June. And for all you uni students, no excuses, exams are finished by then. Inshallah, it will be at the LMA Function Centre on 1G Road. And it's actually a full day. It will run from 8:30 a.m. until 5 p.m. And there is a dinner later on. Is that right?
Yep.
Okay, Sabrine, I think that's actually really exciting because we're used to the lecture format, so you go 2-3 hours, but this is like a full day thing.
Yeah.
And are you trying to, for example, immerse people in like a whole day of reflective thinking and things like that?
Yep, absolutely. And there'll be refreshments, there'll be lunch, they'll be getting a nice little delegate pack with chocolates and water bottles in there. And we're definitely trying to go for a full day of intense reflection.
Now, just on another note, Sabrine, I know that organising such a conference will involve a lot of work. Do you guys actually need volunteers? Do you need young people to get in there and help you guys?
Yes, we do, actually. If you'd like to volunteer on the day, just send an email to conference@lma.org.au and we'll get you on the team.
And Sabrine, who's actually giving funding for this program?
So the funding's come from the Attorney General's Department and it's being administered by the Lebanese Muslim Association.
Yep. All right, sounds great. Thank you so much for coming on, Sabrine. We honestly do look forward to the summit. I personally am looking forward to those chocolates we're going to get in the bags. But seriously, on a serious note, great effort, inshallah. Keep us posted. For those who are interested, you can just Facebook Contextualising Australian Muslim Summit, and all the details of the event will come up. Again, as I said, it will be at the LMA Function Centre, and that will be Saturday, the 30th of June 2012 from 8:30 a.m. onwards. And if you do require further information, if you've got any questions, if you want to send in any queries, you can email.
Yep, you can email us at conference@lma.org.au and the website is facebook.com/Contextualising Australian Muslim Summit 2012.
All right, thank you so much, Sabrine, for coming on the show. Highly appreciate it.
The Y Factor.
Hey Jamal, where can you get the best steak and ribs?
At Flames.
Have they got any deals on?
Yeah, mate. Specials on Thursdays, pizza and pastas, only $10.
$10?
Yeah, $10. $10. And 20% off everything else.
Only on Thursdays and Sundays.
Where at?
At Flames.
396 Beamish Street, Campsie.
Be there.
All right, so that brings us nearly to the end of the episode, but just before we go, let's just go through some of the events for this week quickly. So the first one, Zainab?
Is Sheikh Noor Keller is in town at the moment, and he's giving a talk which is actually tonight at 7 p.m, so after Isha prayer, and the talk is titled Sufism and the 21st Century Muslim, and it's on at Lakemba Mosque tonight. At 7.
7 o'clock tonight. That's after Aisha. If you're interested, Sheikh Noor is in town. Now, speaking of Sufism and, spiritual stuff, Habib Khadim's tour is still going on. Habib Khadim is in town. There have been a couple of events. Some of the events which are still going on at the moment. It's a Dawah workshop at the Regis Hotel and the 2-day Dawah at Darab Abbas, which is this weekend. So if you're interested, just visit events.shifa.net.au. So events.shifa.net.au, or you can just Facebook Habib Khadim Tour 2012. So if you want to hear some more Sufi stuff. What else do we have going? There is tomorrow night, Zainab.
We have another fundraising event. God, we're going very broke this month. It's the Orphan Child Fundraising event, which is on Friday night, 6 p.m. until 10:30 p.m. at the Renaissance, which is 1 Olympic Drive, Lidcombe. So that's at 6 p.m. to 10:30 p.m.
Yep, this is the fourth annual Orphan Child Dinner that they've been having. I've been to a couple, mashallah, they're pretty good. So if you've got nothing to do tomorrow night, or actually make this on your agenda, go tomorrow.
Cancel all your events.
For the orphan children, inshallah. Now, Saturday night, there is a one-off event that Sydney's actually never seen before.
Saturday afternoon, yes, afternoon. 12 p.m. to 4:30. It's a very exciting event known as the Rise and Shine Muslim Women and Employment Panel. And so they're having a range of topics being discussed which are relevant to Muslim working women. And it's taking place at the Riverside Theatre, which is the corner Church and Market Street in Parramatta. So that's from 12 p.m. until 4:30 p.m.
That's right. So Rise and Shine, be there. And they have really exciting speakers. They've got Walid Ali coming in from Melbourne, things like that. So, yep, if you're interested, AustralianMuslimWomen.org.au are organising it. So that's Saturday night.
Afternoon.
Sorry. Saturday afternoon from midday up until 4. For all of you who weren't aware, the Purpose of Life tour by Khalid Yassin has been cancelled due to visa restrictions. So that is off. Now, there is a women's performance cafe which is being organised at the Casula Powerhouse, known as No Added Sugar, in association with JAN, the Justice and Art Network. It's just been a long day. It's a special afternoon for women and girls only. It's Sunday, June the 17th, so this Sunday from 2 to 5. Next Sunday, 2 to 5 p.m. I should just stop talking and get off air. So I'll just let you do the rest of the event so I don't get anything else wrong. You've got the...
another orphan event. So this is put on by the World Orphan Fund, and it's an Orphan Awareness Day which will be taking place on the 23rd of June from 11:30am to 3:30 p.m. at 64 Mountford Road, Guildford. And this is a sisters-only event. So if you're interested, you can contact, there's a number of sisters on their Facebook page, or you can email info@orphan.org.au.
That's right. So that's the Orphan Awareness Day organised by the World Orphan Fund Inc. operated, and that's for sisters only. Now there is obviously the Contextualising Australian Muslim Summit, which is the 30th of June. So that we've got a couple of days to go. Sorry, a couple of weeks before that. Okay, I'm just going to stop talking, and I think that brings us to the end of the episode anyway. Now, just in relation to, just a quick note before we wrap up, some of the discussions we've been having on the Facebook page. Now, if you weren't aware and you've been missing out, and you're not on our Facebook page, make sure you do join us. It is the Y Factor 876 FM on Facebook. Now, I think it's very beneficial because there are some very, very interesting threads, but I think at all times, inshallah, maybe if we can just make sure that just our approach with others is just in a respectful way. I mean, at the end of the day, we're all there just to fruitfully engage in discussion, and there's no reason to attack each other. Now, we also have, just in case you weren't aware, and we've advertised this on the Facebook page, Mission of Hope is having a the refugees and detainees at Villawood. Inshallah, they'll be organising for iftar to be delivered to them every single day in Ramadan to the 3 sections, so section 1, 2 and 3 of Villawood Detention Centre. Now, inshallah, as the Y Factor, what we thought we might do is just get pledges from people and see who's actually interested in pledging, and that way, as the Y Factor show, we can actually cover a couple of days for the detainees to break fast at Villawood. Now, alhamdulillah, the response has been amazing. I think we're on $1,500 at the moment on the pledges on the page. So if you are interested, you can, again, just go on the group, so Y Factor 87.6 FM. You can also email us on the yfactor@live.com.au, so that's yfactor@live.com.au. We're more than happy to hear about it. And inshallah, what we thought we might do just in preparation for Ramadan is just kind of turn the group into some sort of like, what do you call it, Zainab? Like a support network. So we can encourage others and each other to kind of do good deeds.
Fasters Anonymous. Well, not anonymous because we're all on Facebook, so we know who everybody is. Well, actually, we have some anonymous participants in the Facebook group, some mysterious, what do they call them? Pseudonyms.
Yeah, well, look, the Y Factor accepts you all, whether you're anonymous or non-anonymous. That's, totally your choice. Again, we'd like to thank our listeners immensely. May Allah reward you all. And if you've got any suggestions about future episodes, any community organisations out there that do have pertinent events that they would actually like the Y Factor to cover on the radio program, you're more than welcome to let us know. Again, you can private message any of the admins on Facebook. If you don't have Facebook, you can email us at yfactor@live.com.au. So
And be sure to check out the blog, which we've just started up on the Y Factor website.
Oh, that's right. I keep forgetting our website because it's so new. Our Y Factor website is yfactor876.com. So Y Factor, just the letter Y Factor 876 FM. All our previous episodes do go on the Y Factor page. We have a blog that's got some interesting posts, and it's got a really funky events calendar. So any of those events we've mentioned are on the on the Y Factor website, yfactor876.com. So if you want to just chase up any of the events we've mentioned, just log on there. If you want your events featured on the website, just shoot us an email, inshallah, and we're more than happy to do that for you. So I think that's about it for today. Again, thank you so much for listening, listeners. You're listening to the Y Factor on 87.6 FM.
He steps and reaches to touch this man who suffered so much. His own troubles could not compare to the prophet's gone everywhere. He was shunned away by his own kin, ridiculed and stoned by the townsmen. His blood was shed for the truth, and never was he vengeful or rude. Then the prophet turns and he smiles, radiance spreads out for miles, embraces his hand with kindness and care. His heart sings out for all those to hell.
The Y Factor.